Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists of the pointless things, where we fly and buy this pointless statue in Booty Bay, because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 is the Captured Razormane, and the Captured Razormane is a Quilboar that you capture for the quest Drag It Out of Them, given by Togric of the Groldom farm. And so you take the net that she gives you, and you do capture a Quilboar, and you drag it back as like all these rocks are popping up behind the Quilboar as you like drag them along. And so after you do that, she's like, yo, you need to go interrogate this Quilboar and figure out why they're attacking our farms. And so now the Captured Razormane is chained up on the farm. You can talk to them and you can say who sent you. You can punch them in the mouth, kick them in their big fat face, offer food, or tickle them. So obviously, you know, you tickle them and then they are like, hee hee ho, Battlemaster Tortusk never prepared us for this. Oh, I've said too much. And so you learn that Tortusk is their leader, and I'm sure that Tortusk will be on this list later, right? But that's the main quest. And I decided to put them at number 10 because I was like, this Quilboar isn't that great, right? Like they just get captured and interrogated, but it's still like a funny little quest. And apparently they actually used to be one of the old Quilboar models, but then they updated them to a new female Quilboar model. But all of the quest text still references a male Quilboar. So I think they just updated it and never changed it. And they're like, whatever. So that's a thing. And that's why the Captured Razormane is number 10. 9. Number 9 is Captain Flattusk, and Captain Flattusk is a rare Razormane Quilboar captain at the Razormane grounds in Durotar. And what makes Captain Flattusk so interesting is they were supposed to be the Hogger for Horde players. So they have exactly 666 health, just like Hogger, and they were one of the very few old world elite mobs who kept their elite status after patch 2.3. However, they lost it in patch 4.0. And because Captain Flattusk would always blend in with all the other normal Quilboars, a lot of newbie players would just randomly tag Captain Flattusk and be like, uh-oh, it's doing way more damage than the other ones, and then just die. And so I think a lot of people that only play Alliance probably don't even know Captain Flattusk. I mean, actually, you know what? I think there's Horde people that probably don't even know Captain Flattusk, because like I said, this is supposed to be the Horde Hogger, but obviously they're nowhere near as popular. But you know what? They deserve some credibility and they deserve some recognition, and that's why Captain Flattusk is number 9. 8. Number 8 are the Quilboar of the Exile's Reach, and what makes them so weird is they are practicing necromancy. And so if you read the quest, the Forbidden Quilboar Necromancy, it says they rarely practice any magic other than geomancy, but these Quilboar seem to be dabbling in necromancy. They must be stopped. And so I'm actually more interested here in why there's like thorns all over the place, or how the Quilboars actually got to the Exile's Reach. Because when I looked into the lore, it appeared that the boar god, Agamagon, when he died fighting the Burning Legion, his blood splattered all over, particularly in the Southern Barrens, which is where the Razorfen areas rise up from the ground. And so all of the Quilboars gathered in these areas because these vines essentially sprouted from the blood of their sacred gods, so they consider it sacred ground. But how did the blood get over here? Unless they've somehow learned, maybe through necromancy, how to grow these vines, or I have no idea. But I will say, if they add necromancers to World of Warcraft, they should also add Quilboars and allow us to be Quilboar necromancers. It only makes sense, and they should let us do it. So that's why the Exile's Reach necromantic Quilboars are number 8. 7. Number 7 are the Bristleback Quilboars located in Mulgore. And if you play a Tauren, you know all about Quilboar, because the first thing you fight as a Tauren is the Quilboar. Well, not counting like plain striders and just wild animals. And obviously we just talked about how the Razormane have their boar god's blood splattered all over this area. So obviously there's thorns here right next to Mulgore, so they consider this their kind of sacred ground. And then they see the Tauren as kind of encroaching a little too close to it, and they're just like, hey, this is our ground. And the Tauren are just like, get out of here. But after the Cataclysm, the Quilboar have encroached on the village, and the Cataclysm drove them from their dens to spread like locusts across the land. And now you can see that they have truly started to attack the Tauren. But I felt like I had to put the Mulgore Quilboar on this list because I just always remember making a Tauren and fighting the Quilboar. And I was like, you know what? I bet a lot of people, when they think of Quilboars, they think of the Mulgore Quilboars because it's just the mob you fight right away. And so that's why I decided to put them at number 7. 6. Number 6 is Three Tooth, and Three Tooth is a bristleback Quilboar matriarch that is doing some shamanistic stuff to grow these big vines. And obviously we just talked about how the blood of Agamagon splattered and all these vines and thorns grew from that, so it would make sense that the Quilboar would want to grow and spread more vines as a way to kind of like honor their god by spreading his symbolic body across the land, right? And so Three Tooth here, who actually does not have 3 teeth, which is disappointing, is just like, E krala grike, my blood and thorn. New life from clay, dead earth reborn. And so it does seem like she's pretty much responsible for all the crazy vine growth happening here in the middle of the Barrens, and there is a quest where you take a staff and essentially use her own vines against her and kill her, but I actually think it's pretty cool. I wish the Quilboars would have created more vines here, but that's alright. So that's why Three Tooth is number 6. 5. Number 5 are the Briarback Quilboar located in Stormsong Valley. And similar to the Exile's Reach Quilboar, it doesn't really make sense why they would be here, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think Agamagon's blood splattered this far out, right? In fact, there's actually a Warcraft lore post questioning this very thing, saying that Thornweavers in RFK use druidic magic to grow crawls where they shouldn't be, but it's been shown that they can't control this type of wild, and Agamagon himself doesn't support this behavior, and that the Quilboar doing it in Razorfen are driven mad by bat guano and controlled by Chargla. Someone does make a good point though, and says maybe this is a different island tribe of Quilboars that after years of separation believe that Agamagon's on their side, and so they're using druidic magic for him, and they learn it from the Drust Thorn Speakers, which are the druids of Drustvar. And then there's the most likely scenario, which is Blizzard was like, yo, Quilboars would be pretty cool here. And then they're like, what's the lore behind them? And they're like, I don't know. We'll figure it out later. And then they just never did. But they do fit pretty well here in Stormsong Valley. And so that's why they're number 5. 4. Number 4 are all the Quilboar and Quilboar bosses of Razorfen Crawl, specifically Chargla Razorflank and Warlord Ramtusk, who's also with Deathspeaker Jargba and Agam Thorncurse. And so, like we mentioned earlier, the Quilboar consider this place sacred because this is Agamagon's resting place. And so, according to the lore, the Great Mass of RFK was conquered by the old crone Chargla Razorflank, and under her rule, the shamanistic Quilboar stage attacks on rival tribes as well as horde villages. And so Chargla has actually been negotiating with the Scourge, and according to the WoW Wiki, Chargla manipulated her followers into attacking denizens of the Barrens, lying to her Quilboar that they needed blood to revive Agamagon. She also shaped most of the Thorn Dome of the Razorfen Downs. And so the end quest of RFK is actually the spirit of Agamagon himself being like, the Quilboar are my children, my blood runs deep in these lands, Chargla has steered them into darkness. Slay her and take her heart. And so you do that, and then they're like, farewell, Chargla. May the Earth Mother watch over you. And so it's actually pretty cool lore when you're not just running the dungeon mindlessly. So that's why the RFK Quilboar are number 4. 3. Number 3 is the Razorfen Downs and the Undead Quilboar. So you can actually see here there are some cool looking undead Quilboar, and I say they look cool, but they actually do look pretty messed up. And so Razorfen Downs is home to the Death's Head tribe, which is a group of undead Quilboars found in RFD and Kalimdor, and they are controlled by the Scourge and led by Lich Amnanar the Coldbringer, and they were the first major Scourge outpost on Kalimdor. In fact, Deathspeaker Blackthorn, who you fight at the end of the dungeon, rose quickly through the ranks of the Death's Head cult after the defeat of Amnanar the Coldbringer, and shortly after usurping control of the cult, Blackthorn began receiving dark whispers. These whispers promised power and riches beyond belief if he could return Amnanar to life. Compelled by unnatural energies, Blackthorn discovered the location of Amnar's phylactery and has returned to Razorfen Downs to complete the ritual that will return his former master to life once more. And you know, thinking back on it, maybe that's where the Exile's Reach Quilboars come from. Maybe it's some sort of Scourge thing, but maybe not. I have no idea, but that's why the Razorfen Down Quilboars are number 3. 2. Number 2 is Tortusk. You knew we'd get to him. You knew he was on this list. I mentioned it. So Tortusk is the leader of the Razormane tribe that resides around Thornhill, and he travels and fights mounted on his raptor Fez. And I'm not gonna lie, the reason he is so high up on this list is because he is riding a raptor. I would love if there were more Quilboars riding raptors, but he's the only one I've seen riding a raptor, which leads me to think, why aren't there more Quilboars riding raptors? Maybe it's just hard to tame a raptor. I have no idea, but it's pretty cool. And so it says here on the WoW Wiki that after the Cataclysm, many members of the Razormane tribe were lost without a leader and guidance, so they moved north closer to horde towns and homesteads in hope of etching out a survival by stealing food and attacking small caravans. Tortusk showed strength among the chaos of the Cataclysm, and he rode a raptor. Razormanes were drawn to this strength and the raptor, and pledged to serve under his banner. He directed them to Thornhill, which he believed would provide the Razormanes with the best opportunities to attack nearby Horde encampments and easily raid caravans traveling to the crossroads. And so overall, Tortus seems like a pretty good leader, and he rides a raptor, and that's why he's number 2. And number 1 is Mangletooth. And Mangletooth in classic WoW is a Quilboar that's located in a cage in Camp Taraho, and after the Cataclysm became the new leader of the Razormane tribe. And so there's a few reasons that I have him as number 1, and one of which is I always remember him being in the cage giving you all these buffs, which you turn in blood shards to obtain these buffs, and blood shards are said to have been formed by the blood falling from Agamagon, the boar god. And so Mangletooth is actually extremely manipulative, and at first he tries to convince players to attack the enemies of his tribe, the Bristlebacks, in hope that it would convince his own tribesmen to save him. However, he then realized that the people of his clan that he thought were cool weren't cool, and he was like, you know what, go kill them. And so he has you go and kill them, and then after Cataclysm, when he escapes, he is now the leader of the clan. So he must have just went back to him and he's like, yo guys, I'm back, those other guys were losers, I'm in charge now. And they were like, all right. In fact, Mancrick wants Mangletooth dead. He says, I no longer care for honor or glory. All that matters to me is Quilboar die by any means. Mangletooth, the chief of these filthy Razormanes, sits in his lair to the northwest atop a hill. End his life. And so yeah, Mangletooth is wanted by Mancrick. He buffed us with blood shards. He plotted revenge against his own clan. And he's pretty crazy. So that's why I decided to put him at number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, I'll link the entire playlist you can click on and watch all of them. Or if you want a more specific one that relates to this one, we got Furbolgs. They're kind of like Quilboar, kinda. Also, like the video if you want and support the channel by becoming a channel member or on patreon.com/crendor. Okay? Okay. See you.